Part two of Beowulf, which is the battle with Grendel's mother, starts with the monster's lair. This is on page 35 of your text. Hrothgar and his host celebrate Beowulf's victory over the monster Grendel. That night, however, Grendel's mother kidnaps and kills Hrothgar's closest friend and carries off the claw that Beowulf tore from her child. The next day, the horrified king tells Beowulf about the two monsters and their underwater lair. The monster's lair. I've heard that my people, peasants working in the fields, have seen a pair of such fiends wandering in the moors and marshes, giant monsters living in those desert lands, and they've said to my wise men that, as well as they could see, one of the devils was a female creature. The other, they say, walked through the wilderness like a man, but mightier than any man. They were frightened, and they fled, hoping to find help in Heorot. They named the huge one Grendel. If he had a father, no one knew him, or whether there'd been others before these two. Hidden evil before hidden evil. They live in secret places, windy cliffs, wolf dens where water pours from the rocks, then runs underground, where mist steams like black clouds, and the groves of trees growing out over their lake are all covered with frozen spray, and wind down snake-like roots that reach as far as the water and help keep it dark. At night, that lake burns like a torch. No one knows its bottom. No wisdom reaches such depths. A deer, hunted through the woods by a pack of hounds, a stag with great horns, though driven through the forest from faraway places, prefers to die on those shores, refuses to save its life in that water. It isn't far, nor is it a pleasant spot. When the wind stirs, and storms, waves splash toward the sky, as dark as the air, as black as the rain, that the heavens weep. Our only help again lies with you. Grendel's mother is hidden in her terrible home, in a place you've not seen. Seek it, if you dare. Save us once more, and again, twisted gold, heaped up ancient treasure, will reward you for the battle you win. So basically, once again, King Hrothgar is just asking Beowulf to go down to the bottom of the sea, find Grendel's mother, and help kill her, and he'll reward him with a bunch of gold. So here we go, the battle with Grendel's mother. Beowulf resolves to kill the lady monster, arriving at the lake under which she lives. Beowulf and his companions see serpents in the water and sea beasts on the rocks. The young hero kills one of the beasts with an arrow and then prepares to fight with Grendel's mother. Then Ecgtheow's brave son spoke. Remember, Hrothgar, O knowing king, now when my danger is near, the warm words we uttered. And if your enemy should end my life, then be, O generous prince, forever the father and protector of all whom I leave behind me. Here, in your hands, my beloved, comrades left with no leader, their leader dead. And the precious gifts you gave me, my friend, send them to Hygelac. May he see in their golden brightness the Geats' great lord gazing at your treasure, that here in Denmark I found a noble protector, a giver of rings whose rewards I won and briefly relished. And you, Unferth. Unferth is his brave and loyal companion friend here. Unferth, let my famous old sword stay in your hands. I shall shape glory with Hrunting, or death will hurry me from this earth. Hrunting is the name of his sword. He named his sword Hrunting, so he's basically saying, give my sword to Hrunting and send the gold that you're going to give me back to my people. And then he asks him, would you be the new lord of my people if I die in this battle, basically, because they'll be left without a prince. As his words ended, he leaped into the lake, would not wait for anyone's answer. The heaving water covered him over. For hours he sank through the waves. At last he saw the mud of the bottom. And all at once, the greedy she-wolf who'd ruled those waters for 100 years discovered him, saw that a creature from above had come to explore the bottom of her wet world. She welcomed him in her claws, clutched at him savagely, but could not harm him. Tried to work her fingers through the tight ring-woven mail on his breast, but tore and scratched in vain. Then she carried him, armor, sword, and all, to her home. He struggled to free his weapon and failed. The fight brought other monsters swimming to see her catch, a host of sea beasts who beat at his mail shirt, stabbing with tusks and teeth as they followed along. Then he realized suddenly that she'd brought him into someone's battle hall, and there the water's heat could not hurt him, nor anything in the lake attack him through the building's high arching roof. A brilliant light burned all around him, the lake itself like a fiery flame. So, yeah, they're still underwater. Like, he swam for hours. He's battling her underwater. She brings him into like some big battle hall, basically. And he's just basically saying that the water doesn't hurt him, that he's able to like breathe and survive under there. And she can't quite get at him to attack him either, like through his mail armor on his shirt and stuff like that. Then he saw the mighty water witch and swung his sword, his ring-marked blade, straight at her head. The iron sang its fierce song, sang Beowulf's strength. But her guest discovered that no sword could slice her evil skin, that runting could not hurt her, was useless now when he needed it. They wrestled. She ripped and tore and clawed at him, bit holes in his helmet, and that too failed him. Sorry, guys, I forgot to turn your page here. There we go. We're like right here in the middle. For the first time in years of being worn to war, it would earn no glory. It was the last time anyone would wear it. But Beowulf, longed only for fame, leaped back into battle. He tossed his sword aside, angry. The steel-edged blade lay where he dropped it. If weapons were useless, he'd use his hands, the strength in his fingers. So fame comes to the men who mean to win it and care about nothing else. He raised his arms and seized her by the shoulder. Anger doubled his strength. He threw her to the floor. She fell, Grendel's fierce mother, and the gate's proud prince was ready to leap on her. But she rose at once and repaid him with her clutching claws, wildly tearing at him. He was weary, the best and strongest of soldiers. His feet stumbled, and in an instant she had him down, held helpless. Squatting with her weight on his stomach, she drew a dagger, brown with dried blood, and prepared to avenge her only son. But he was stretched on his back, and her stabbing blade was blunted by the woven mail shirt he wore on his chest. The hammered lynx held. The point could not touch him. He had traveled to the bottom of the earth, edged the sun, and died there if that shining woven metal had not helped. And holy God, who sent him victory, gave judgment for truth and right, ruler of heavens, once Beowulf was back on his feet and fighting. So basically, again, they're just saying, because of basically the blessings of God, he was able to kind of get it together, and because of this mail armor on his shirt, was able to kind of like keep going because she couldn't get him yet. Then he saw, hanging on the wall, a heavy sword hammered by giants, strong and blessed with their magic, the best of all weapons, but so massive that no ordinary man could lift its carved and decorated length. He drew it from its scabbard, broke the chain on its hilt, and then, savage, now angry and desperate, lifted it high over his head and struck with all the strength he had left, caught her in the neck and cut it through, broke bones and all. Her body fell to the floor, lifeless. The sword was wet with her blood, and Beowulf rejoiced at the sight. The brilliant light shone suddenly, as though heaven's burning in that hall, and as bright as heaven's own candle lit in the sky. He looked at her home, then following along the wall went walking, his hands tight on the sword, his heart still angry. He was hunting another dead monster. and took his weapon with him for final revenge against Grendel's vicious attacks. His nighttime raids over and over, coming to Heorot when Hrothgar's men slept, killing them in their beds, eating some on the spot, 15 or more, and running to his loathsome moor with another such sickening meal waiting in his pouch. But Beowulf repaid him for those visits, found him lying dead in his corner, armless, exactly as that fierce fighter had sent him out of Heorot, then struck off his head with a single swift blow. The body jerked for the last time, then lay still. So here he is, still like in the she den, basically, and he kills Beowulf's mom, kills Grendel's mom with a sword he found on the wall that was like some magic special sword because it was forged by giants, takes her head off. Then he goes to look for Grendel, because remember after Grendel killed at Heorot, when they came back, he went back to the bottom of his marsh to die there, and he wants to make sure he's totally dead. So basically he goes, chops off his head to make sure. The wise old warriors who surrounded Hrothgar, like him, staring into the monster's lake, saw the waves surging and blood spurting through. They spoke about Beowulf. All the graybeards whispered together and said that hope was gone, that the hero had lost fame in his life at once and would never return to the living, come back as triumphant as he left. Almost all agreed that Grendel's mighty mother, the she-wolf, had killed him. The sun slid over the past noon, went further down. The Danes gave up, left the lake, and went home, Hrothgar with them. The Geats stayed, sat sadly watching, imagining they saw their lord, but not believing they would ever see him again. So basically they all think all the blood and everything that's happening down there is because they're basically killing Beowulf. They all give up and go home except his own men, the Geats. They stayed there loyal. Then the sword melted, blood-soaked. Oops, sorry guys, gotta turn the page again. Here we go. We're right here. Then the sword melted, blood-soaked, dripping down like water, disappearing like ice when the world's eternal Lord loosens invisible fetters and unwinds icicles and frost as only he can. He who rules time and season, he who is truly God. The monster's hall was full of rich treasures, but all that Beowulf took was Grendel's head and the hilt of the giant's jewel sword. The rest of that ring-marked blade had dissolved in Grendel's steaming blood, boiling even after his death. And then the battle's only survivor swam up and away from those silent corpses. The water was calm and clean, the whole huge lake peaceful once the demons who lived in it were dead. Then that noble protector of all seamen swam to land, rejoicing in the heavy burdens he was bringing with him. He and all his glorious band of Geats thanked God that their leader had come back unharmed. They left the lake together. The Geats carried Beowulf's helmet and his mail shirt. Behind them the water slowly thickened as the monster's blood came seeping up. They walked quickly, happily across roads all of them remembered, left the lake and the cliffs alongside of it, brave men staggering under the weight of Grendel's skull, too heavy for fewer than 4 of them to handle, 2 on each side of the spear jammed through it, yet proud of their ugly load and determined that the Danes seated in Heorot should see it. Soon 14 Geats arrived at the hall, bold and warlike with Beowulf, their lord. Their lord and leader, they walked on the mead hall green. Then the Geats' brave prince entered Heorot, covered with glory for the daring battles he had fought. He sought Hrothgar to salute him and show Grendel's head. He carried that terrible trophy by the hair, brought it straight to where the Danes sat, drinking the queen among them. It was a weird and wonderful sight, and the warriors stared. So here he comes, all the treasure and gold. All he takes is Grendel's head, brings it up to the king to show his trophy, and the monster's dead.